Corruption investigations have cost Austrian's Prime Minister Sebastian Kurz the office, or he's a chancellor, in fact. Foreign Minister Schallenberg is to be his successor. The Greens welcome the change in the coalition partner. The resignation of the Conservative Chancellor Sebastian Kurz has ensured the continuation of the coalition with the Greens. That said, Green Chief and Vice Chancellor Werner Kogler on Saturday evening in Vienna. Kurz had previously announced that in view of the corruption investigations against him, he would withdraw as Chancellor and in future move to Parliament as party leader of the ÖVP. This means that we can continue the government work on the basis of the government program, Kogler then told journalists. The Greens had announced the end of the coalition if Kurz was not replaced by a new ÖVP politician with an impeccable reputation. Now the previous Foreign Minister, Alexander Schallenberg, is to take over the chancellery. Kogler signaled his approval of this change. The cooperation with Foreign Minister Alexander Schallenberg has so far been very constructive, wrote Kogler in a statement. Well, and Sebastian Kurz's move from the Austrian Chancellery to Parliament is, from the opposition's point of view, a move, but not a change of system. Sebastian Kurz is fleeing to parliamentary immunity, said the head of the right-wing FPÖ, Herbert Kickl. The opposition parties saw the fact that Kurz remains party leader and becomes parliamentary group leader not only as a legal but also as a political maneuver. They agreed that this attitude would now be maintained and that the system Kurz, what they call it, would continue to exist. For an hour now, Kurz has no longer been federal chancellor but has been the shadow chancellor of the Republic, said the Social Democratic Party leader Pamela Rendi-Wagner. Head of the liberal NEOS, Beate Meinl-Reisinger, said that Kurz would continue to keep all the strings in hand. When Kurz took over the leadership of the ÖVP in 2017, he had extensive rights of intervention assured, which still apply. He alone can determine the government team, the lists of candidates in parliamentary elections, and the political line of the ÖVP. On Wednesday, investigators searched the federal chancellery and the party headquarters of the conservative Austrian People's Party, the ÖVP. According to the Public Prosecutor's Office for Business and Corruption, Kurz's close colleagues are suspended of having bought well-meaning reporting in a media company in order to pave the way for Kurz to become party leader and federal chancellor from 2016 onwards. For this money from the Ministry of Finance is said to have been misappropriated. The investigators see in Kurz a participant in the crimes of infidelity and corruption. The 35-year-old has denied all allegations. The Greens, as coalition partners of the ÖVP, had declared Kurz no longer fit for office and demanded his withdrawal as a condition for the continuation of the cooperation. If Kurz had not resigned, opposition parties would have tabled a vote of no confidence on Tuesday. A few votes from the Greens would have been enough for a majority. The conservative Green government under Kurz was sworn in at the beginning of 2020. Previously, Kurz had ruled with the right-wing FPÖ from 2017 to 2019. The 52-year-old Schallenberg has been jointly responsible for Austria's foreign policy and top position for years. The multilingual, internationally experienced diplomat is just as tough on migration issues as Kurz, by the way. So in that regard, there will not be much change about this, but it was really a headline when this came out. But there are other headlines as well. The old are retiring, the offspring stay away. The logistics industry is also warning in this country of a situation like the one in England. However, there is one crucial difference. Empty supermarket shelves and long queues in front of petrol stations. In Great Britain, it has been apparent for weeks what happens when truck drivers are absent. 100,000 jobs are open, says the Road Haulage Association. And the reason is Brexit and the associated stricter immigration rules. Massive delivery problems are the result, and the army has been helping out since the beginning of last week. Now, the German Federal Association of Freight, Transport, Logistics and Disposal, the BGL, warns that such scenes could also occur in this country if means are not found soon to counteract the driver shortage. We are also running into a creeping supply collapse in Germany, says BGL board member Dirk Engelhardt. A situation similar to that on the island has been threatening for a long time, but not on that extent seriously. Politics, business and society must finally wake up and resolutely counteract the driver shortage in a societal show of strength. 35,000 drivers leave their jobs every year. Only 15,000 new drivers are trained in Germany. The industry has been complaining about the shortage of skilled workers for years. In the past, many drivers came from the German armed forces, where they could get a truck driver's license free of charge as part of military service and then hire a truck after their service time, by the way, not like in the UK right now. That was over with the abolition of conscription. The industry also considers the rough tone and rigid, family-unfriendly working conditions to be hurdles. But the unions of all people are contradicting this. I don't see that this is going to be acute in Germany, says Stefan Tiroke, head of the Verdi Specialist Group for Forwarding and Logistics. In the short term, there could be even relief on the continental mainland because many drivers are now coming to the EU from Great Britain because they are EU citizens anyway. In addition, from this point of view, everyone is talking about the driver shortage, but this only means the driver shortage of local employees. Drivers from Eastern European countries have long been compensating for the lack of young talent in the industry in Germany and elsewhere. And that seriously means we will not see the pictures we see in the UK here in Germany or in any other EU country. This will not happen. And the supply situation in Great Britain is still not getting out of the headlines, although Prime Minister Boris Johnson continues to insist that there's actually no serious problem far and wide. For 3 weeks now, the petrol and food crisis has dominated the political debate in the kingdom and has caused violent resentment among the battered population. In the meantime, soldiers have been recruited across the country to deliver the missing fuel to the sold-out filling stations, and this time active soldiers. The empty shelves in the supermarkets are also causing concern. According to industry associations, they should even worsen by Christmas. And in addition to the shortage of fuel and food, there is increasing criticism from the population about rising prices for energy, fuel and food. In other European countries, instead of pity, there is more malicious glee and malice for the self-inflicted situation right now. I can't blame them for having some schadenfreude now. Because of the government, not the people. I'm sorry for the people. The British meat industry is also complaining of an acute shortage of workers such as drivers and slaughterhouse workers. This means that tens of thousands of pigs will have to be culled and burned in the coming weeks. Well, it's already more than hundreds of thousands of pigs. Due to the lack of drivers, the animals cannot be transported to the slaughterhouse, and due to the lack of butchers, they cannot be slaughtered and processed. The Conservative government is now forced to issue temporary work visas for EU workers, but only temporarily, because one does not want to allow cheap labor from abroad to come into the kingdom again. Yeah, but because of that, they don't want you to have your visas. The situation seems to have run its course without any practical solutions to emerge from the supply crisis. Michael Hempel from the Zufall Forwarding Company in Germany comments on the current difficulties facing our British neighbors. With logisticians anticipated that too. The warehouses there are full, exports are stalling, and the British economy is paralyzed. The bureaucratically inflated customs and the new restrictions made delivery traffic unattractive for Europeans, the other Europeans. With Brexit, the English clearly scored an own goal, he said about the situation. The previously problem-free and noiseless flow of goods to the island is now, as we would say, history. Deliveries of raw materials are delayed, goods are in the hole for weeks. And truck drivers from the continent would not be lured to England with a 3-month work permit. Despite all the glee about the predictable problems caused by leaving the EU, there is also sympathy, especially since almost half of the British had voted against Brexit. He says, "I really feel sorry for the people who are now fighting over the petrol." And Romina Gaussmann from Desoy, a specialist in injection and industrial technology in Kalbach in Germany, confirms that export processes have become difficult. She says, "Trade relations with Great Britain are very difficult. There are extremely long delivery times and, as a result, unsatisfied customers. The processing at customs has become complex and therefore much more tedious. You need a lot of patience and nerves. In addition, there would be surcharges on material, which means that prices could not be maintained. Overall, an unsatisfactory situation for all exporters." Today, what the world star and Fulda fan Chris de Burgh said in an interview in 2017 is absolutely clairvoyant. "Brexit is the greatest disaster and the stupidest thing the British have done for centuries. I think it's an example for democracy not working. We have 51% who explain, 41% what is going to happen in their life. That's so wrong. I think David Cameron made a mistake in starting the referendum, and Theresa May also when she called for the general election. I think if a new referendum were started, the British would vote against leaving the EU. Most young people wanted to stay in the EU. The people who were leaving the EU wanted to leave the EU because they were told so many lies about immigration and much more. We Irish are proud to be in the EU. It was an absolutely wrong step," said the artist and composer. And he was right that it was a wrong step, and that was a lot of people who voted otherwise have been dragged out with the rest. But I do have my doubts about the outcome of a referendum if it would happen now, because still too many people fall for the headlines and spreading of lies that never ended. It would be interesting to see that, but seriously, what help would that referendum be at the moment? They cannot just rejoin with a push on a button. That works completely differently now. And with the behavior against the rest of Europe, pray that there is not one member state that vetoes that. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.